Hi, welcome to A Different Kind of Doula. I'm Maureen Curis, and I'm here with one of my colleagues, Kathleen Putnam, and we're part of the Gentle Passage Doula Collective. And since the fires in Maui, I have just been thinking, how can end-of-life doulas help at times of natural disasters? And I put a question out on LinkedIn, and there were a few comments, but really, I was just wondering how can we help from afar? And the more I thought about this is Maui fire was the impetus for me to want to talk about this. But this happens all the time. Natural disasters are happening more and more and more, and people are being displaced. They're losing lives, and just having this conversation about how we can help make a difference, not being there, but how we can help from where we are. So I'm really excited to introduce Annie Vance. She is a marriage and family therapist that actually lives in Lahaina, Washington. Washington. I'm in Washington State, Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii, and she herself lost her home. She is displaced, but she is out there. I heard her on an NPR segment and I caught the very end of it. And I just picked up the phone and called her, and she's been so gracious to join us on this show. So, Annie, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for giving us some airtime and some voice here. Part of the island, the telephones don't even work, and this limited internet. So the more we can get the word out to the outside world and to the families that, are able in a position to support us at that time, it's really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. When thinking about reaching out and what this experience has been like for you and your community, what would you like everyone to know? What feels really important for people to know right now?
Well, the sense of community that has evolved out of this is just heartwarming to me. That's the number one, the big heart of people reaching out. I used to have a little Airbnb. I've had past clients from California, past clients from here, present clients, all your friend groups reaching out, and Airbnb guests reaching out that were, and to me, that was very heartwarming the first few days. The other part is I've got two kind of telephone groups going, text groups going. One is people from my neighborhood, which was called Puamana, which is the last community in the south end of Lahaina. And it's kind of speckled in there. Some of us that had units near the highway got damaged and lost, and mine was like but the one in the lineup before one in the lineup before mine got in fire, so mine got in fire in the next one, and then it stopped at our main road within the community. So it's patchy. There are a few places that survived, and all the others around it are gone, and that's kind of hard. We haven't been allowed back in, but I was able to go back in a week ago, Friday, I think it was, and I bought boots, I bought masks and long sleeves and long tights, and trumped through my stuff. Everything is gone. I even looked at some of the books I had stacked by a window on a desk there, and you could see the print, the ink on the page, but when you touched it, it was all dust. My Corningware in the bottom cupboards, so they didn't fall, were cracked, which tells you the volume of the heat. So I was just amazed at the total incineration of everything. It must have been like a blast furnace to be there. Well, we got out at about 7:30, and we had been down at the clubhouse for sunset, and the smoke was going. We were watching the smoke from Lahaina, having no idea that Lahaina was that gravely on fire. We thought it was above the highway and it was just grass smoke. And then we started seeing black smoke. and we realized there's something bigger. The biggest thing that people need to realize is we got no warning. We have a siren system. It was not applied. It may not have been working. Police didn't come. When they came to my leaving the development, our manager, bless his heart, Paul Brown, and he's just a new manager, probably about a month into the job. He knocked on every door and back door to get people out of places at Pulmana, and it's, gosh, about 250 units. Did an excellent job. I talked to somebody who had stayed, and they came out at about 9:15 to move their cars down to the clubhouse area, which is a bit more open, because the other end of his building was on fire. The guy on the nearest end to that guy, those two guys stayed. One was at the end of this and one was starting at the other. And they got in their cars to come down and walked back up. And both the buildings were on fire by the time they came back up. They said it was just frightening how fast, frightening how much smoke. And I would say the majority of the deaths in Lahaina were due to smoke, because, and I can't point fingers or anything, but people were trapped because the roads at either end of Front Street were blocked. I don't want to be the person to criticize who did that, but it became a trap. A lot of people climbed over the seawall into the water. A friend of mine was in the water for 6 to 8 hours. She had a t-shirt over her head and to have, making it wet because the ashes and the embers were coming down, and a lot of ashes and embers were also floating on the water until they
when the winds blow like that, it comes without warning and so fast. I had a friend in Santa Rosa, California. They went to bed on a night not even knowing there was a fire anywhere near them, and an hour later the fire trucks were blasting, get out now, get out now. They just had time to get in clothes and run out the door. They grabbed their dog, couldn't find their cat, and their house burned down within the hour. There's a lot of trauma and PTSD that people will have because of this. And, we're all in the throes of it right now. We keep hearing on the news, but pretty soon there will be other issues taking its place. How do we help?
Well,
how do we help as the time goes on? Because it's, everyone is there for the immediate need.
Yeah. I was thinking a couple of days after, once they started, I should bring my EMDR light bar in. And I went, oh no, it's destroyed in the fire. I called the company Neurotech that I got it from, and I said, would you be willing to help the disaster here by sending me another EMDR bar? And they emailed back a couple of days later saying it's on its way. So I thank that company, and I thank them for their generosity. The things like that anything that can be used that's like that EMDR, there's brain spotting, things like that. I have a friend that has taught that over here in Honolulu. I'll be in touch with her too, just to get the help we need. So you're asking about later on. I look at, with everything being gone and a lot of people working from their home, that gift cards are a good idea. Cash vouchers for anything, cash to organizations. I belong to the Lahaina Sunrise Rotary Club, and we have set up some things for ourselves. If you go to our website and to RotaryD5000.org is another place you can go to donate, and that goes. And then if you put Sunrise, then they filter the money towards Maui, because that's for the whole district of the islands. What else?
I think that so our natural instinct is to want to do something tangible. And I know from work back when there was a big tsunami in Thailand, my neighbor and I were like, we've got to do something. So we contacted World Vision, and they said, send cash donations or like you said, gift cards. They weren't as popular back then, but
Now,
you know, send money to the area to help stimulate the economy and help them buy what they need, not just sending things that they might need. You know, let them get what they need.
right. I think that the first wave was clothes and shoes and, you know, bathroom, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and that kind of stuff. So we've gone through the first wave, and the different agencies that have provided meals at the shelters, that's the first wave. Then the next wave, we're going to be back, and there's a group called Samaritan's Purse that I'd like to promote, that they will go through your ashes, if you can tell them where, you know, say where jewelry was, or where the urn with your loved one's ashes was, because those are things that got left. We when it was time to go, the manager, we were down watching sunset, and the manager says, "Go, you've got to leave, get out." And I said, "Under whose authority?" You know, it's like no police, nobody came by. And he said, "A man on a bicycle rode down from the next subdivision and said that subdivision is on fire." Boy, that was enough authority for me to act on and decide to leave. As unofficial as it was, it would have been crazy not to have heeded that. What I've seen a lot of people that I've talked to so far are some of the store clerks who people are going out, and tourists actually complaining that this spoiled my holiday. And she was asking, how do I handle that, you know, graciously? And I said, you know, just use your reflective listening. So what I heard you is this. I said, you're not taking it in, you're holding it in a container out here, you know, and be in observation mode. Isn't that interesting behavior? So you don't have to get into the role of the pushback or contradicting them in any way. Yes, that's their issue. It's not the same issue as the people in the island are feeling. The other is families who have opened their homes to other families. And, you know, now it's 2 weeks later, coming up on 2 weeks later, and, you know, company begins to stink after a while. And so, you know, just talking about some of the things they can do to make agreements, because when you can make agreements and have routines and people do certain chores and share what the expectations are, kind of like in a marriage, and have more of that, teaching people that that's something they can do. They don't need to walk around on tippy toes because they're guests, because this will enhance, you know, is it respectful? Is it emotionally safe? Is it mutually reciprocal? You know, is it fair? And are you being sensitive? Are some of the things that I say when you're interacting with others, being able to ask yourself, you know, am I being respectful? Am I being emotionally safe? Am I being mutually reciprocal as well? Yeah. Those are some of the things I'm suggesting. Go ahead.
It's a lot for someone with your background to be holding. How are you managing?
Rio, come, sweetheart, come, see, come right now. I'm holding up with the help of my darling boy. Let me just come and say hi. Come and say hi. Okay, come and say hi. Come on up. Come on up. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
This is my handsome boy. His name is Rio. He's a therapy dog. And he has just been the love of my life. What I have loved most is the businesses I have gone into have just, he goes up to people. Oh, hi. He has just been such an icebreaker. Sorry, he looks a little sleepy now, but he's been such an icebreaker, talking to people and just offering comfort. The Cal Fire guys, the night they arrived here, I was sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and they asked, several of them came over and petted with him. So one of the gentlemen has asked if I would bring him to a meeting tomorrow to boost morale, which I thought is a real testimony to what therapy dogs can offer in the situation.
Absolutely. I was an instructor where there was a shooting on campus, and the first thing that came to campus to soothe the students and the staff was a group of therapy dogs. And what I noticed was the normalization of having a dog with no expectations and pets
Yes.
to hold and remember, normalized, and it got you out of your
The
predicament.
relaxation response comes
Yeah,
right into play. Yeah. One
right.
sad story was there was the young boy at home alone. His mother was at work. And when she went back to find him, she found him cuddled up under the bed holding the dog, but they were both charred,
Yeah.
which was pretty sad. He didn't you're told to stay home, you stay home.
Yeah, yeah. There was a similar, it's heart-wrenching. There was a similar story in Oregon where someone went back and got their dog, a child, and the same result. So therapy dog. And how is the community looking after you?
Today, I just got given a stay here at the Four Seasons Hotel. And that's through FEMA, which because I have been doing a lot of you can settle in, okay, sweetie pie. Because I've been doing a lot of counseling down here. I thought this would be a good base for me to be, so I applied, and several of the hotels on the west side have had, well, some of the hotels that I go to talk to the staff, they have given me a stay while I'm there. So it's become just a very, very warm way to do it. I originally, the first day that we drove to what we call the other side of the island, and where there was electricity, bathrooms, food, and water. And in the morning, one tree had fallen down, afternoon, another tree had fallen down. And then by that night, I had no roof. And I was kind of rejoicing for the trees falling down, because the next day I was to go and sign my loan for my solar panels to be put on the roof. And it would have cost me to cut those trees down. So I called my solar guy and I said, well, I got rid of the trees, so it's going to be direct sunlight, but now I don't have a roof. Oh. And his first response was, do you have a place to stay? Bless his heart. And he invited my house guest and myself and Rio to come up and stay at his place. So little gestures like that, which were just enormous. And he started a GoFundMe. He works with a company called Provision Solar. His name is Dax Olson. And I thank Dax for that warm hospitality the first day out. The second day we went into town, because they just had a pull out in the living room and we didn't want to impose. I went to one of the churches, the Kahalui Baptist Church. And while I was there, this lady came along and spoke to the pastor and said she had a room that would be great for 2 people. And the pastor called us over and said, hey, this lady's got a room. Would you like to take it? And we went, yes, that would be awesome. And it is just, they've got 2 little boys. They've got a dog, a husband and wife, and they're building a church here. So they meet in the neighborhood, they meet in the park, they meet in each other's garages for Bible study and things like that. It has just been such a warm crucible to land in. And I just feel so blessed to be taken in by them. And I know other people have had that same experience. One of my friends went to stay at an Airbnb, and then the next guest canceled. So the lady said, stay here for the next week for free. So the people have opened their hearts and opened their homes to us, which has been really, really nice.
It's back to that sense of community that you were talking about in the
Yes.
beginning. Now, I'd like to ask you, I do want to get back to specific ways to donate. And you had some great ideas while we were talking beforehand, but there's been a shortage of mental health care workers. And I'm sure that there is that was pre-pandemic, and escalated, and this is there's going to be a lot of PTSD and trauma, and you,
So
so
I
we
want
do.
to share this.
Oh,
Maui
look at
Mental
that.
Health Relief. And it's a young gal I was talking to yesterday who, with some colleagues, we've set up this thing called Maui Mental Health Relief.org, where you can donate so that people can get therapy. And you can also just donate so that we can, run off handouts and run off little booklets for them. And it's a place also for therapists who want to sign up and administer to these people. If they have a health plan that you belong to, if the therapist is on the panel of the person's health plan, we get to bill it through the health plan. Otherwise, we're either going to donate time or hopefully from the funds that are donated as well. So that Maui Mental Health Relief.org is another place that people can donate. Which would encourage and get more therapists to line up. I'd like to be able to buy about 6 EMDR light bars for people to come in and be able to operate and do that, because a lot of us have been trained with it, but we're just not, don't have those light bars anymore.
Okay, now I've heard of those, but can you share how those would work? Just
Sure.
real briefly, because
EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And the woman who invented it realized that when she was on walks in the morning, her eyes would go back and forth. And that's that REM movement that we see if we open somebody's eyes when they're asleep, or we look at the movement of their eyeballs below their lids. And apparently there's a processing where you can have the look, you can have the vision, but you don't have the emotion attached to it. It helps kind of unhitch that, so you don't keep having that startle effect and your whole sensory system going into, the sympathetic nervous system getting aroused. So the desensitization process would be where you bring up that scene that was very hard, and you bring it up again, and you bring it up, and we ask you to, kind of notice the changes. And after a while, we get desensitized to it. And then we put in a more positive thought. Rather than, oh my gosh, we look at what's the thought that goes along with it. Oh my gosh, we're going to die. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's the end of the world. We may not make it out. And then we put in the positive thought, the positive cognition, which is about, thank God we're alive. We're going to live. We can make things better after this. We have an opportunity to strive and be part of a community. There's going to be a paddle out on Saturday where the canoe paddlers paddle out, and it's kind of a Hawaiian ritual with chants and so on, which I hope to be able to attend. So there's a lot being done for that sense of community and that sense of support. Are you sleepy, little boy?
Okay, let's get to how people can, because we're running short on time, and I want to make sure, we were talking about how, either cash vouchers, gift cards, those type of things are really the best way to help with the physical needs of people after a natural disaster. So, what are some of your ideas? And, can they send them directly to the Rotary? Tell us a little bit about the Rotary and why you think it's so valuable to partner with the Rotary.
Rotary does a lot in the community. We recently did a project over on Big Island where the inhabitants of the Bikini Islands had been replaced, taken there from the nuclear fallout, and given some land on Big Island, but it was on the far side of the volcano, and they weren't getting much rain, so they had very little water. And were having to walk down the hill and get water and bring it back up. And we were made aware of that shortfall and were able to provide them with a truck that could tank potable water and take it up for them. So, it's just little steps, little sensitivities, things that we realize. We do projects every month in the community, a playground that needs to be redone, garbage cans that need to be painted. We do beach cleanups. We sell Christmas trees, things like that that improve the community. And we've got about, I think, 3, maybe 6 clubs in Lahaina, and probably 10 altogether on the island. So they're a strong group.
If people send donations directly to Sunrise Rotary, of Lahaina Sunrise Rotary, if you could get me that, would that get directly then to be used to help support people getting back on their feet after being displaced from these fires?
Directly. We're a community of business people, so there are a lot of contacts with families, with businesses, and we'd like to see things done for the businesses to get going again, not just some of the people that aren't working or sitting around or doing nothing. We'd love to see people with the businesses get those businesses up and running. And I know for me, I've had some very dear friends who have, what do you need, Anne? And I said, well, my printer, my computer have gone, and I have a computer, I have a printer, and I thank them, because that's just really helped my situation, be a whole lot more effective. I can do handouts. I can get resources printed from different resources online, and it's just made things a whole lot easier to give people something to take away. Because in stressful times like this, and I've experienced it myself a lot, the memory goes. I talk to somebody and I go, okay, what was your name? And with being able to give them something printed, write down some of the resources, some of the links. My 2 community text chains are putting up all the time. We hear that United Way is doing something. We hear that the realtors are doing something, and we put it on there. Or one lady this morning was expressing her frustration with, having to stand in line for her mail. So somebody said, hey, use my address. It can be delivered to my house. You can come by, pick it up anytime. So little things like that help people not have to go through the lineups and the frustrations.
Gosh. So Costco gift cards, Visa
Amazon.
gift cards, Amazon, you can get anything there, those types of things. And after we get off, if you or I can look up if Sarah, there's an email, or I mean a mailing address for the Rotary of Lahaina. But Kathleen's going to wrap us up now.
I will get my president to address and get that to you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we'll post it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah. The feeling of overwhelm and helplessness to see a community so quickly be impacted. And we know being able to talk about it and take some action and be able to share heartfelt thoughts and hear stories so that people feel heard and understood and cared about, those acts are so important for healing and restoring. And
you're so right. It's like everybody we talk to, we say, talk about it. That's the way human beings heal.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for taking the time to come here and share what this experience has been like for you. And we are a different kind of doula. We're interested in grief, in loss, in living the best life possible, and also being able to talk about those hard things that we like to avoid. And it's so important to bring them to the forefront. And we're part of the Gentle Passage Doula Collective, and one resource that we feel really has been so important with the pandemic, and we have fires in Washington, in Canada, and people are all over the world, will join our death cafes. And we have one every month, and they're virtual. So if
So important. Oh my
you
gosh,
can
that's
show up
great.
with no agenda, and they're free, and anything that you want to share so you don't feel so alone. And then we also run trainings for end of life doulas, and we have 2 coming up in September, and we have informational webinars about those. So we'd love to have you, and you can join us at gentlepassagedoulacollective.com. And we'll be
And
back
maybe you
here
can
again
do
next
training in Maui in a few months, in a
Oh.
year.
Wonderful.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Annie, for your time. And thank you, Rio, for showing up and doing the work you do, healing hearts.
Mhm.
See you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me on. Much
Oh.
appreciated. You guys
We're
are a
so
treasure.
happy that you came.
Thank you.